Gamer Supps not only make a delicious sugar-free energy formula, which I only need one a day, keeps me going and get all this prodigious content done, but if you want something else, they also produce shakers. So if you like big, cartoony titty women and fat asses, certain fans certainly do. So basically, if you're a degenerate or some sort of We Are Boost type anime weirdo, or you could just like the energy drink like I do. Get one of the delicious flavours like dragon fruit punch or citrus lemonade, or my favourite, guacamole Game of Fart 9000. That's real, but it's strawberry and lime. 10% off with your order. Thorin, Thorin is the code at gamersupps.gg. There we go. Now, obviously, we're on to the second phase of the major, which, remember, for those who get confused, years ago, what was the first phase, the previous one, which is now called the new challenges stage, used to just be called the major qualifier. It was actually the point at which you had to get past that, and it wasn't until you were top 16 you were in the major. But now the major is like 24 teams or whatever. So then you come to the top 16, which is the new legend stage, and then after that we have the playoffs. Now obviously that's confusing if you're an old school fan, because back in the day we called the top 8 team the legends. So yeah, I get it, like it's a bit scoffed to the terminology, but then again, what do you expect from a company that in the game changed the console command to be max rounds 30 when they actually meant max rounds 15? Enough said, right? Now, I don't even know I put it up. Do I even have a video on that? Probably not. Just, at this point, do I just think, is the Akashic record, my mind, just available? I'll just go up there to go into my dreams for when I talked about that one time. Now, I think I talked about it on some other show, maybe By the Numbers or something. Now, if you've been following my Twitter, you might know I did today, a few hours ago, just put out a video that is a preview for this phase of the major. But here's the little tweak. It's the one I did on the other channel, Insight and Esports CSGO. Go there, by the way. It's got Snake and Banter. It's going to have the return of By the Numbers, which will be called the Revenge By the Numbers. It's going to have counterpoints to it launches. But also we have competitive edge, and this episode we do it a bit different. I do all the first round matchups. I give you my insights on what they're going to do there. I even give you who I think those teams can match up well with elsewhere. I do my top 8, but it's a scuffed. I have to just pick it on the fly when Monty asks me. I even forget one of the teams to name. I don't say my 3-0 and I don't say my 0-3. So go there more for a preview of the first matches, the betting odds, who I would take to win. I have like half of them upsets, half of them not upsets, who I think basically has the better chances overall at the major, some of the insights on the players and who performed well in the previous phase. Now obviously we get into this actual thing. Well, on this one, I'm just going to make it all about the teams that get out and my pick'ems. Now, here's the thing. This is actually the first time ever that I've done the coin thing, that I've actually failed the first phase. Like, I think I've done it. Let me think. I'm going to say, I think I only began in 2019. So I think I've only done 4 majors off the top of my head. I don't think I ever did the coin. I definitely didn't do it as a video. Like, it's actually mad because it's just money left on the table. Like, these are just the freest hits of all time. And people are interested in with just casuals. Like, who are you picking? For what reasons? Maybe they don't watch all the regions. So with that said, I failed it. But I'll say this. I don't even give a fuck if anyone's trying to roast me on this. I failed it, but I'll just tell you right now, I don't give a flying fuck if anyone's trying to roast me on this. I think this was far and away the hardest one of these new challenger phases ever to pick from. Because all the top teams, minus basically FaZe, came in with some sort of a flaw, something going on, like a player not integrated, like a coaching issue, all sorts of stuff. So the top teams, you didn't know how strong they were going to be. You saw a bunch of them actually fell in a bunch of games you wouldn't expect. Loads of veterans even didn't make it through. And then you had all these underdog. Nobody's made it through. You had the Bad News Eagles. You had Team Spirit. You had these squads. Like, who had these teams going through? I know everyone's now going to be added, of course, whatever. I don't care about that. You hate me, mate. So here were my picks I had for the challenger stage. I got 4, you obviously need 5. My problem is I do have Team Liquid, but I picked them for 3-0. Basically, what turned out to fuck me here is, first of all, IHC didn't lose because they got to play Renegades, so they won a game, so there's my 0-3 out of the way. I was going to go for Renegades on that one. By the way, this is the last time I ever give Renegades any leeway whatsoever. My assumption there is, like, you even speak bloody English. Surely you should be able to, like, ask people in Europe for tips on the meta, quiz things, watch streams of people who are really smart talking about. No, you just get beaten by Mongolians. Sound. Shut that project down, mate. As soon as JKS and Dexter and the rest of them left, there's nothing left. You close the lights out before you turn the lights out before you leave, mate. What's left for Renegades? Okay, IHC, they didn't get through as well, but whatever, they won a game, fair enough. Believe it or not, I actually did take Astralis. Like, yeah, I thought Astralis was a team getting through. By the way, even my Team Liquid one isn't that crazy because I said it's between Team Liquid, Outsiders and Vitality. All three flawed teams, all three teams in weird form, but they could all, in theory, 3-0. Now, the reason I picked Team Liquid for the 3-0 is because, first of all, I've noticed in the early phase of tournaments, they actually sometimes overperform in the odd game. Secondly, they were playing G2 in the opener. Now, every moron now is going to, oh, it's obvious G2 would win. G2, it's obvious they would win a BO1. What team have you been watching for the last month and a half? The fuck are you talking about? No, absolutely not. They have quite a weak map pool overall. So, yeah, they did win that match. Turns out they crushed it because a lot of their players mega performed at the top level. They haven't always at the past tournaments, but you couldn't know that. So that one right there was and it turned out, the problem is, I just haven't seen anything from Vitality the last month or so to believe in them. Actually, turned out Vitality was the team that I put as, basically, if I swapped Team Liquid and Vitality, I actually would have 5 out of the 9 and I would be through at this point in time. Astralis, fair enough. I actually thought just the raw firepower of Blame F and Config should win you a couple of games. So unfortunately, it was only Blame F turned up. By the way, mad props to him. As much as we've all criticised him, and yes, clearly there's some empty carries in his fragging, as in 30 kills or 40 kills from him isn't the auto win that it is from a simple or Ziwu. But I tell you what, he does his job every single time, no matter the outing, no matter the role, no matter how his team's playing, no matter what his IGL calls, no matter what the map is. This guy just puts up his numbers. You've got to give it respect, no matter what you think of his role. Then for Forza, I actually think this is an example of a team. Go look who they lost to. They lost to a whole bunch of teams that made it into the actual fucking major. So I think this is an example of a team where, being a small team with a smaller seed, they just got a rough draw of it. They still could have made it through, but then I thought they just chalked away that last game. I think they just got a bit nervous when they played against the Imperial guys. Quite frankly, the experience shone through, even though I do think the Forza guys showed a lot in those first couple of games. Eternal Fire, I just thought the firepower should turn up, and by the way, spoiler, it didn't. It was just basically like a bit of Xantaras, was about it. So yeah, a bit underwhelming for those ones really, but whatever. So here we are with the 16 teams, and I'm going to not go through, remember that's the other video, I'm going to go now on who I think gets through. So let's just start classically with the 0-3, right? The obvious one to go for. I actually think this one's a little bit tricky, and you've got to actually look at first round matchup here, because the key thing is, the teams before I look at matchup that it's between are as follows. Bad News Eagles, totally inexperienced. I think they got carried by Rigon in a way they probably won't be in this phase. I don't think there's any way their map pool can hold up. Imperial, they have the experience. Look, if they can sneak to a 2-2 game and play some sort of, I don't even know really who you could get, but maybe there's someone out there you could get in a dodgy ass kit, maybe a big or so. I don't know. I don't think, no, because they play him in the opener. So yeah, I don't think they can do it, unfortunately. So Imperial's got to be on there. There's no way Bolts performs like he did. Team Spirit, I think they were a massive shock they made it through. Sure, they've got a little bit of firepower, but we saw at the last major that disappeared in this phase. So Team Spirit, let me think, who else? I don't actually put big on there. I think they can win at least one game. Copenhagen Flames. It's got to be Copenhagen Flames is the other one. So here's the key thing. Because Copenhagen Flames plays Bad News Eagles, by the way, Copenhagen Flames, again, I just don't buy like some of the fragging from Jabby, etc. They actually look like a canny little team. They're not bad. They can play some CS. They've got an alright map pool. The calling's decent. So I don't necessarily put them at the bottom of my list. The problem is they're playing Bad News Eagles. So here's my problem. I think that's too much of a 50-50 to gamble on one of those teams going 0-3. You're just putting too much of the odds there. Whereas when Imperial plays big, I expect him big to just ban out Overpass and basically be able to get a win. I expect... who else did I go for? Bad News Eagles. Spirits plays Furia. I expect Furia to batter them. So actually at this point, I think you've got to take Spirit or Imperial. So the tough thing here goes like this. Do I go with Spirit because they've got some firepower? Okay map pool. Do I go with Imperial? Bit of a dodgy map pool. I have to really kind of get people on Overpass Inferno. But they have lots of experience, but I don't think the fragging can possibly hold up. But they have some veteran savvy. You know, like someone like Fallen's going to win a clutch or two here and there. Don't think he can frag out that much. But you look who's he going to play against. There's a lot of top teams here. See, the problem is my heart tells me go with Spirit because they've just failed in this sort of a phase of the tournament so often. Imperial in theory. The problem with Imperial as well, people are forgetting, is they do have peacemakers, so they do have a real coach as well. So should I take Spirit? Does Spirit really just fail utterly? Because they are playing Furia, that's the thing. I think that's it. I'm going to take Spirit. So Spirit's my 0-3 team. I definitely could go back and forth on that one though. Like I do think there's a lot to that one. And the issue is, also you got to remember, they're going to have to play a BO3. So in a BO3, the problem is, I actually think Imperial's chances in the BO3 is the worst. And then I think probably Bad News Eagles. No, actually, I think Bad News Eagles might be slightly better than Spirit in the BO3. Especially because people don't know them yet still. Yes, I'm going to stick. I'll take Spirit as my 0-3. There we go. Let's hope Magic's and Dexter don't frag out. And there's another thing, but there's no way Dexter's going to be the number 1 rated player like that. He did a very good job in the first round. I expect him to fall off a little bit versus some of the big names here, some of the other great AWPers. Okay, so there's the 0-3. Let's do the 3-0 as well, shall we? Get that out of the way. So, for me, again, remember, my meta that I talked about in the last video is I want a team that's more likely going to be a 3-2 team. So I'm actually not losing much by putting them 3-0 if they don't go 3-0, but they have the capability to go 3-0, and then, especially because of the first round. So in terms of just blindly, the teams I'm thinking of, believe it or not, would be in this order. It wouldn't be FaZe Clan, because obviously I have them as a big favourite. It would be more like Heroic. I could see Heroic doing like they did at the last major and getting out 3-1 or 3-2, but they also are very capable of just dusting off a group stage and going through completely like they did in Katowice. So Heroic's on the list. I think you've got to put Furia on there. Furia is a team that has a nice map pool, strong firepower. I actually think they're getting better every event. I think a lot of these teams here are a little bit wounded. I could easily see them running through things. Then you have... I think the problem is I think it's too likely Ents gets through, actually, so I don't want them. Outsiders is another good shit pick. Also a team probably going 3-2, but they could 3-0. They're capable of it. I think they're the biggest option. I don't think Team Liquid could do it in this phase. I'm not even going to bother picking them. Cloud9's not a terrible shout. The problem with that is I don't want to gamble on it because I think they're going through no matter what. So I think it's too much of a gamble to put Cloud9. NIP's not a terrible one. They're probably a borderline. Can they really 3-0 though? Like, are they going to win a best of 3 against the team that's 2-0? That feels implausible. So I think actually, if I look at who they play in the first round, Heroic plays Liquid. Yes, quite likely they win. But actually, Liquid's exactly the sort of team, just like they could have done against G2, that could give them the BO1 upset. I think the map pool's a bit of an issue there in the sense that, like, I think they can just play enough of the maps in the middle to get a chance to fire at Heroic. So I won't take Heroic for 3-0. Furia plays Spirit. I think they're going to win that game. I think it's a pretty good one. So Furia's looking good. Then I had, didn't want NIP. Outsiders plays Cloud9. The problem is it's too hard, and I think they probably lose to Cloud9, so I can't take that one. And I wasn't taking Team Liquid anyway. So, and by the way, I don't think Vitality can 3-0 this one. I know they did a miracle job in the last one. There's no way that's happening this. I know Team could just mad frag, and that could do it. But I don't think Magisk isn't performing like that again. And there's no way fucking Masuta is performing like that. That was absolute robbery, how he played. That should never happen, in my opinion. So that reverts back to normal immediately. So I'm actually going to take Furia here. Yeah, I'll say Furia. They're my 3-0 team. Now for the other 7 teams. So I'll go in order of most likely and strongest teams. So I'm going to go FaZe Clan, even though they play Ents in the first round. Very hard first round for both teams. I just think they're way too good in terms of, like, everyone's like at the right level in terms of firepower and role. Their map pool's looking really good. The whole Vertigo thing from the final of EPL is very exciting as to what they can do potentially with Carrigan and the pick ban. I think this team's going through. I don't know about 3-0, but they're going through. Probably 3-1 if I had to guess. I think... Then I'm going with Na'Vi. They have the best player in the world, who is the best player to ever play CSGO. He is still the best right now, and he has not dropped off, even though Na'Vi has. Now, true, there have been certain matches where he didn't play as well, like at Katowice, but overall, he's still a fabulous player who's one of the best to ever do it, and right now, still the best in the tournament. So that gives you a massive chance to get through a phase like this. I also think, let's be real, still got a good map pool. Yes, maps like Overpass have fallen away. There's also the scenario where I think even though, yes, Electronic looks like he hasn't really had the buff he had from last year, Bit hasn't been quite as good, like, they've just got a solid enough team. And I even think, this is probably the last dance for this team. So yeah, you don't stress, you just play, you let what happens happen. And hey, who knows? The top ends win this major again. At least I think you're making a deep playoff run to the semis. So I've got FaZe, Na'Vi, I already had Furia, I've got Spirit as my 0-3, so I need 5 more teams. Like I said about the fact I was thinking about Heroic 3-0, I'm taking Heroic definitely to get out this group stage. The map pool's way too good. I don't like as much that they don't do the totally rotating veto. Like now they tend to veto a bit of dust too and don't play that. I wish they'd play a bit more of it. But I still think it's a very strong map pool. I think Stown is even stronger than he was last major, which can carry them a little bit. Because yes, some of the others let you down, but not in this phase. They're going to get through this phase. It's in the playoffs where you got to look for them to let you down. Cadian and the rest of them are good enough to get through this phase. Don't worry about that. And as a team, they do have the team that could win the major. I just don't think they've got the nerve or the bottle for it, quite frankly. So I've got Heroic. I need 4 more teams. I'm taking the aforementioned Ents, even though they play FaZe Clan the opener. Map pool is fabulous, one of the best in the world, including the maps that are really tough for a lot of teams to play, so they have a lot of choice in the pick ban. I also think Spinks is one of the best players in the world in this tournament. That's massive, especially because he's already been to a situation like this where he didn't get far, so now it's his time to do it. I think in general the firepower is good. I do have my questions about Hades, who in the big tier 1 tournaments I've always thought dropped off a little bit, but they've got Dika, and he is the sleeper carry after you talk about Spinks. Then you've got a veteran IGL in Snappy, so I think all in all this team's quality enough to get through. I'm not worried about them at all. Then I'm going with X Gambit, now Cloud9, still a great map pool. All of the big names are back on form. Shiro's a monster. Axal is really good. Nafani's getting his game together again. Their problems come later in the tournament when they're on stage in front of a big crowd. They're going to get through this phase. Yes, they play outsiders who they could lose to in the BO1, but I think they would beat most teams in the BO3, especially at this phase. It's different if they play a FaZe Clan Na'Vi in the playoffs in a best of 3. In this phase, they could even beat them here, I think. So I'm taking Cloud9 definitely. 2 more to go. I've got to say G2. Finally, everything looks like it's coming together. I also think like Monacy's just solid. Nico is one of the best and is getting back there. And I think Hunter continues to just be sleeper. So actually, I'm pretty impressed with how this team's going in general. So they're not the peak G2 you want yet. They have to work their way up series by series, kind of like they did at the last major. But I think they're definitely getting through this phase. I've got from that. Now, my last team. Now, here's the thing. I could talk about NIP. I could even take a cheeky gamble on Big. If I really believed that Roy would play out his mind, I'd take Copenhagen Flames. But I'm not going to. I'm going to say, bearing in mind, even though they start with the game against Cloud9, I think Outsiders is doing it again. I think they're nicking through, maybe on the last game. But even with Jim not playing that well, he'll play slightly better in my opinion. Yakindar's still there. Generally, the firepower in the team's still legit. It's just not at what peak could be on paper. They're getting through this. Their map pool's falling apart. But if you know anything about this team historically, they play so weird. And when they're in their game, so gritty. It doesn't matter if they're not, like, they win on Mirage and that great now. They'll beat teams on it in this phase. I'm telling you right now, even if it's the other team's map pick. So I'm taking Outsiders as my last one. I also low-key want one last miracle run from them before their roster potentially splits up or Yakindar gets sold, right? I just think that would be a really cool angle to go with. So I've got, let's see, what did I have? So I have Fury as my 3-0, I have FaZe, Na'Vi, Heroic, Ents, Cloud9, G2 and Outsiders as my other teams making it through. I have Spirit as my 0-3. Now obviously I'm not actually doing a pick'em, I don't have access to that technology anymore, do I? Spoiler, I've never actually been able to watch the bloody games and get the coin anyway, so it's not like I ever had any good coins previously. It was just a cool way to show you in the client here, because it's what you experience when you go in the game. So they're my picks anyway. I'll be back for the actual playoffs. For that, obviously, it'd be less about that. It'd be more about doing the actual veto, and what I'll do is do a dry run and tell you who I think wins the tournament as well.
Hey, it's simple, you're watching Thorin channel. Shut the fuck up, you fucking bitch.
This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Matt Pugnatio, Rajcula, Kyle R, Pacy, Travis Goff, ochs, Animosity, Botpounder420, Hades, Jensen Goh, Joseph Ginsburg, Kovacevicd, Tobias Bernasconi, Tooorin, Zoomba, Zyrathenia, and a special thanks always goes out to Jerky's Minion. Would you like to find out who upcoming guests are going to be? Maybe even suggest them on the topic for my content. Maybe you want to appear in one of those lengthy esports discussions with me, or ask me a question for my video AMA. Well, if these perks, or indeed any of the others available, intrigue you, then join the Skrill Illuminati today. Put the money where your mouth is. Where? In the description box below, and the Patreon link.